Sigmund Bloom here in the host seat because Cecil Lammey has been on assignment. No, not that kind of assignment. He's here to report on the goings-on at the Shrine game, and it has definitely been a Shrine game to remember, if only because of a player who showed up who did not practice. But we're going to get to him after we talk about a quarterback and other quarterbacks who actually played for the East. Syracuse class of 97 and Ohio State quarterbacks become Syracuse quarterbacks, become Kyle McCord. And he's in this draft class. The quarterbacks are a big question mark, but one of the ways they can turn the question mark into an exclamation point is a good performance at these all-star game practices. How did McCord and company on the East quarterback side look this week?
Yeah, so we had three quarterbacks on the east side: Kyle McCord, Cam Miller from North Dakota State, and then Peyton Thorne from Auburn. And for me, it's McCord is the guy I throw a dart at. Now, by dart, I mean late round pick, undrafted free agent, something like that. We'll get to Shadur on the west side. But as far as East quarterbacks go, McCord is the one that looked most comfortable. Now, Cam Miller, think of North Dakota State quarterbacks, right? He's going to come in, he's going to be athletic, he's going to have a strong arm. He's not really going to know where to go with the ball. But you saw with McCord specifically, he was very comfortable out there. And all-star practice, it's almost a test, Bloom, as you well know and remember, of like, where's your comfort level at, right? Are you a leader? Are you a guy that can just be dropped into any situation? And McCord did seem that. I keep using the word comfortable because that's what his game is, right? Nothing tremendously outstanding in terms of arm strength or athleticism or even accuracy, but just the game isn't too big for him. The moment isn't too big for him. And if you're looking at late round quarterbacks, not much there from Miller. North Dakota State always had me interested. Not much there from Peyton Thorne either, but Kyle McCord seems like a guy I would be willing to take a chance on. And mainly we're talking about a reserve, a backup quarterback here. Who knows what that could turn into, but McCord would be the one. And in fact, when we get to the Senior Bowl quarterbacks, McCord might be better than most of the QBs I just saw in Mobile, Alabama.
Yeah, that's the thing. And see, with super flex leagues, and how many of these third-day picks at quarterback have gotten a chance to start early in their career? Spencer Rattler, Aiden O'Connell, Brock Purdy. So,
right.
Hey, depending on where these quarterbacks land, it can mean something. Shadur Sanders, I know there's not anything to talk about on the practice field, but this is the key to this year's draft. At least the top of the draft is when are these two quarterbacks going to go? Are they worth the picks? Is it if they go to an organization, is it a sign that they're foolish? Is it a sign that they're actually taking advantage of the lack of buzz, really, about these two quarterbacks? We've already heard Jim Nagy say that they may have been seventh, both of them, Cam Ward and Sanders. So give us the latest. You've been covering his career from day one in Colorado, and you're going to be covering it from day one in the draft season as you were there at the Shrine game.
Yeah, and the West quarterbacks, there's not a lot there. It's Ethan Garbers from UCLA. It's Brady Cook from Missouri. Max Brosmer from Minnesota. And there is Shadur Sanders. Shadur is a number one overall pick type of quarterback. And I was at his first spring practice in Colorado, and I noted two things. One, he can put the ball here or here, 40 yards downfield on purpose. His pass placement, not just accuracy, his pass placement is uncanny in what he can do. The other thing that I noted is he was about a half a beat late on every single throw. Now, he reads the field well. He's very bright, but he's a half a beat late in every single throw. And in 2 years with the Buffs, that never changed. So we didn't get to see him practice. Much controversy. Jim Nagy's taking shots at Eric Galko. That shouldn't happen, by the way.
No.
I'll just make a public service announcement. Like, Galko works really hard, and we're friends with both of them. Both work very hard to some of these rosters, I thought. And Jim deleted his tweet, but it's like, it's internet. It's forever, baby. It's out there. Like, don't insult the prospects, because I think Jim even said something about, we don't invite guys to show up and not practice. Najee Harris did at the Senior Bowl.
Right.
4 years ago. So let's not act like, high and mighty here. But Shadur Sanders, he is high and mighty. Now, I dug in like an Alabama tick with some Tennessee people because I'm like, are you guys serious about taking him number one? The answer is yes. The Giants have emotions that run wild for him, is what I'm told. Brian Dable was at practice in Dallas, and Shadur was in attendance. He just didn't do anything. He didn't throw, but he was there to talk to scouts. He had met with the Tennessee Titans. Brian Dable and him, Dable like got in his back pocket. And if you're Dable, Bloom, this isn't a coach's show,
Yeah.
but we have to do one of those when the Saints finally get their coach. We'll do a coaching carousel show. It's already stopped. Oh, the Saints forgot it.
Yeah.
When they finally hire someone, we'll get to that. But like, if you're Dable, you got to cozy up to that kid because he's your savior. He saves your job. If the Giants are able to get him, they're number 3 overall. And Cleveland's Cleveland. Who the hell knows what's going on there? And I'm not sure if Tennessee is playing the game of saying we really like Shadur and just putting it out there, and I double, I triple checked with people like, are you sure? You sure about that? Where's that meme at, right? Are you sure about that? I did all of that, and Tennessee tells me assuredly they are seriously interested in Shadur Sanders. The interesting thing is Cam Ward didn't play at the Senior Bowl.
Mm.
He wasn't there at the Senior Bowl. So I was thinking I would see Shadur on Saturday and Sunday, and then I would see Cam on Tuesday and Wednesday. Full disclosure, we're recording Thursday morning. I didn't see Cam at all. He wasn't there. So not able to kind of see him in person or even talk about more buzz with him. But that's the story. Who's 1? Who's 2? Who goes off the board first? Can the Giants get their guy? The Raiders are lurking there at 6 with Pete Carroll. Do they move up? Do they get a Shadur Sanders? Shadur is very, very close with Tom Brady. But certainly the intelligence is there. He's not a scrambler, by the way,
Right.
because I've seen people say, like, he's Randall Cunningham.
No.
He's Randall Cunningham today if he scrambles,
Right.
right?
Right.
Like, he's not a scrambler at all whatsoever. People have that misconception for whatever reason. If you've watched Colorado, you know he can keep a play alive with his feet, but he's not going to get out there and scoot and attack you with his legs. So, Shadur Sanders in play for number 1 overall. Enjoyed that he talked to the media. Something at Colorado, they kind of kept him from the media.
Mm.
Just an interesting note there, but he talked to the media, very forward with that. Again, very charming as the number 1 overall pick. And as Deion's son, what would you expect, right?
Right. And 2 very different quarterbacks. We've got months to talk about these quarterbacks and the rest of these draft prospects. 2 very different quarterbacks. And it makes sense. I mean, there's enough overlap between Sanders' playing style and Joe Burrow, Brian Callahan, to see that as at least a possibility. Cam Ward, a different type of quarterback, a much looser style. But we turn the page to running backs. And I think our mutual friend, Clayton Gray. What's up, Clayton Gray? Love him so much. And if you want to know anything Razorbacks, you're going to know to ask Clayton. And he has said, hey, well, Rocket Sanders is a guy that maybe didn't look so good at Arkansas, but at South Carolina, maybe there's something there. Was there something there with him and the rest of the East running backs in the Shrine game?
Yeah, what's interesting is Rocket Sanders didn't look like much of a rocket. That was kind of floating around on the sidelines. So, the jokes abound when the scouts get together. It's like a hen house there. So you had Montreal Johnson from Florida. You had Rocket Sanders, South Carolina. You had Joshua Williams, LSU, Andrew Henry from New Mexico. But the best back in the entire Shrine Bowl was Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, the New Mexico kid who goes to Arizona. What he play, like 1 game due to like transfer reasons and stuff. Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt is a player that idolized Mark Ingram growing up, a player that has power to his game, certainly intent and swiftness. It's difficult with running backs because there's no live tackling, so you're just kind of like, yeah, I don't know. He looked pretty good. Maybe he would have broke that tackle. I have no idea. With Krosky Merritt, I like his efficiency of movement. There's certainly power to his game if there was to be live tackling. And then really wanted to emphasize his ability as a receiver this last weekend in Dallas. So Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, probably a late round guy, undrafted guy, but out of the backs that were here, he stood out to me as the best one on either the East or the West, Sigmund.
Yeah, and look, this is a deep, get ready to hear this a lot for the next 3 months.
Yeah.
Deep running back class, which means that late round undrafted running backs are at least potential contributors in the NFL, if not an Isaiah Pacheco type. So it's important to know the backs in that 3rd tier. Another one maybe in that 3rd tier, another mutual friend of ours, Chad Ryder, NFL.com. Wonderful, amazing human being. He put out a list of 10 standouts. One of his standouts from the Shrine game, Taj Brooks from Texas
Yes.
Tech. And maybe for fantasy purposes, not as exciting, but for NFL purposes, there's something there to work with. What is there to work with from the West running backs?
Yeah, I got to see Chad in Dallas, so it's always great. Trying to convince him to move to Denver. Like I want you to move to Denver, Six. I'm
Sunlight,
like,
lots of
everybody move to
sunny.
Denver.
Sunlight.
Yeah, yeah, sunlight and some fun in the Mile High City. Chad is fantastic, and we chopped it up about Taj Brooks. Of the West running backs, Corey Kiner there, Cincinnati, interesting. Taj Brooks, I'll get to in just a little bit. Trey Stewart, Jacksonville State, and then Phil Mafah from Clemson and Jaquindon Jackson from Arkansas. But it's really Taj Brooks who stood out. One, he's a thunderous back. It's almost as his legs attack the ground when he runs.
Mm-hmm.
He really looked like Mark Ingram out there. I know Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt had Ingram as his like idol, but it's really Taj Brooks that looks like that. As a receiver, he doesn't fight it. He doesn't like snatch it out of the air cleanly all the time. Will body catch some stuff. And I think that's where Brooks, you can't see any power at these games, but you need to show as a receiver. He'll be fine, but he's a two-down thumper in
Right.
this league, and he showed well. Taj Brooks, Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt was better, but Brooks was my favorite back going into the Shrine Bowl, and he did not disappoint.
Yeah, like if a team wants Amari and Hampton early and they miss on him, for a B back, Matt Waldman, if you're not following him on the social medias, it's a good discussion of a B back. Maybe Brooks could be a B back. Speaking of Brooks, leading the East wide receivers, Ja'Cory Brooks. And again, people have said this is a running back tight end draft from the fantasy positions, not so much a quarterback wide receiver draft, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't pay attention to Brooks and the rest of the East wide receivers.
Yeah, East wide receivers are pretty thick here, and I'll get to all of them just because Keandre Lambert Smith from Auburn, Dante Thornton from Tennessee. Let's put a pin in that one.
Yep.
Theo Weiss from Mizzou, Jackson Meeks from Syracuse, Efton Chisholm, Eastern Washington. He's more Danny Amendola
Mm-hmm.
than he is Cooper Kupp because some people were like, "That's like Cooper Kupp." No, it's not. But it's like when we saw Danny Amendola at Texas versus the Nation years ago. He's the same guy.
Mm.
He's that guy. And he caught everything there. Isaiah Nair from Nebraska put together a really good week of practice as well. Really a great gait in terms of the way that he runs. He eats up chunks of yardage when he puts his feet in the ground, so you like to see that. Caught some tougher passes. There's a little bit of thumping here, no live tackling, of course. Nick Nash from San Jose State, Ja'Cory Brooks, as you mentioned, from Louisville, showing off some speed there. Dominic Lovett, wide receiver, Georgia. Caden Prather, wide receiver, Maryland, there as well. So let's get back to Dante Thornton, though.
Mm-hmm.
Thornton was the guy with the best my ball mentality of this group of receivers. Again, Chisholm out there catching everything underneath. He is your, that type of Hunter Renfro, Danny Amendola, that sort of prospect. And the Nebraska kid, Nair, was really good. But as far as going up and getting the ball from defenders consistently, that was Dante Thornton from Tennessee, who kind of wins the day in terms of, hey, these are your best wide receivers on that side of the ball at the Shrine game.
Yeah. Thornton also a Chad Ryder 10 standout pick. He said one of the big play receivers potentially. And Chisholm, Emory Hunt. Emory Hunt. If you don't know the name Emory Hunt, Emory Hunt is
It's the best.
he is highlighting the small school players. He made sure to put a spotlight on Chisholm. There we go to the West wide receivers, and there's a Matt Waldman favorite. And I grew up a Pitt fan. Then I went to Syracuse, so we've already done the Syracuse drop. Pitt Panther, Kanata Mumfield, a Matt Waldman favorite. Who were some of the Cecil Lammey favorites from the West wide receivers?
Yeah, and the West wide receivers are all the Colorado guys. Mumford was perhaps not as consistent as he needed to be. You definitely see the physical skill. He's as rocked up as you need to be as receiver. Like he's not overly muscular, but you can definitely tell the physique, the stride, everything. He takes his conditioning incredibly seriously, and he can cut a rug, which is important. A lot of the times at these all-star games, guys just don't know what to do yet. So that's something you're always kind of looking for. Who knows how to run routes? Well, you saw with Mumfield and Sons. I just had to say that. The Pitt kid, that was good. I call everybody kid now because I'm old.
Yeah.
Jacoby George from Miami, Trayshawn Holden from Oregon, who was getting dog cussed by the wide receiver coach there. Actually, I kind of felt bad for him because the wide receivers coach was like dog cussing him, like him specifically. He was talking back. He was telling, or excuse me, the DB's coach. So the DB's coach telling all of his guys, like, hey, that guy can't play. Hey, that guy, whatever. Holden goes out there, next rep, slips on his route, goes to the opposite side of the field. Football is a cruel, cruel game at times because that DB coach didn't stop talking.
Yeah.
Didn't say, I'm from Atlanta. This is how we do it. Like, okay, but and again, part of me is like, all right, you have to overcome that mental stuff. It's the NFL. It's not for long. Nobody's going to be nice to you.
Right.
But at the same time, there was part of me going like, yeah, I mean, kids just trying to run a rep and guys out there jawing, like, come on, man. And it wasn't the players that were jawing. It was the DB coach. Anyway, let's talk about Sam Brown from Miami. Antoine Wells from Ole Miss, Ricky White from UNLV, Blaine Taylor, Abilene Christian, Money Parks from Utah. There's Mumfield again. But let's get to the Colorado guys. Make sure I got everybody. Let's get to the Colorado guys. Jimmy Horn Jr. is going to be the highest drafted of all of these guys. If you want to say, like third round pick, something like that, Jimmy Horn would be right there. And of course, we all remember Joe Horn and the cell phone and everything he did with the New Orleans Saints there. So Jimmy Horn Jr. is a player that's very smooth athletically, has sticky hands, has nice length, knows how to already position his body. Like, he's Joe Horn's kid, man. So Jimmy Horn, rock and roll, he's right there as the top Colorado receiver. Will Shepard is good in terms of a reserve guy, and we've seen this from Colorado receivers before. Insert any of them that from Colorado, not Colorado State, but Colorado, where it's like, okay, it's just well coached, good athlete. Will Shepard's that guy. But LeJohntay Wester, if you were to take Deebo Samuel and you were to drop like 30 pounds on him and put him in a smaller body, that's LeJohntay Wester. So I'm just saying, somebody's going to have to know how to use him. But if someone does know how to use him, Wester, I'm not going to say unguardable, but he's also just lightning quick. He's got speed. He's got great foot frequency, which leads to contact balance. He's got all of those things and then some. But my God, is he difficult to cover. So Jimmy Horn, full disclosure, best Colorado receiver there is this season. But LeJohntay Wester is my favorite just because he's so damn fun to watch.
Yeah, and with the proliferation of these offenses, there'll be more offenses that are ready for a role for a player like Wester. Okay, we turn the page to tight ends, and we're going to go back to Syracuse, and we're going to go back to a name that Miami Dolphin fans will know well. Let's talk about some more sons of NFL players. Oronde Gadsden, and I saw a Darren Waller comparison thrown out for Gadsden. Is that a little too lofty, or could he live up to that?
No, not at all. That's not too lofty whatsoever. So Gadsden is right there. Rivaldo Fairweather from Auburn said Darren Waller as his comp. So I think Waller's on everybody's mind here. Joshua Simon from South Carolina, and then Mitchell Evans from Notre Dame. Big Notre Dame kid, caught everything. But it's really Gadsden with that movement ability and agility. And then it's Rivaldo Fairweather, who Gadsden was the player I was watching. This is almost like the Taj Brooks thing. It's like I was watching for Taj Brooks, and then Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt just took over, right? I was watching for Gadsden, super excited about him, and then it's Rivaldo Fairweather, who ends up being the best tight end, in my opinion. And both of them with Waller comps. So there's a little bit of a and listen, Fairweather's probably an undrafted guy.
Right.
Probably a seventh round pick, something like that. So tremendous value. Again, running back, get ready to hear this. Running back super deep, tight end super deep. It's more than just Tyler Warren, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Or Colston Loveland, or whoever you want to say. Harold Fannin. We'll do a Senior Bowl show. We're going to have to cut the show short, Bloom, so we'll finish tight ends for the Shrine Bowl. We'll do a separate Senior Bowl show, and I'll be able to go on and on about Harold Fannin and Devin Neal, my favorite, Devin Neal.
Yeah.
But Rivaldo Fairweather really kind of matched Gadsden, and Gadsden is damn good and smooth athletically. Fairweather matched him. So I enjoyed seeing that. I enjoyed talking to both down there in Dallas.
Yeah, and Waller was not that highly regarded. Remember, one of those Georgia Tech wide receivers in an offense that didn't ask him to do a lot of wide receiver things. It took a while for him to make that switch successfully. So the league is caught up now. And if we're going to talk tight ends, we're going to say it's deep. See, we got to talk Iowa tight ends, and
Yep.
leading the West Side, Luke Lachey.
West Side, always the best side. Carter Runyon there. Look how old we are, Bloom.
Yeah, I know. Look,
Everybody's son.
we're allowed to call them kids because we're more than twice their age.
Yes, yes. So I got that Towson kid, Jalen Conyers, Texas Tech, Luke Lachey, put a pin in it from Iowa, and Caden Prieskorn, sorry, Ole Miss there as well. Lachey is the answer for your Y, whereas Gadsden is more of an F. Luke Lachey is your Y. Now, before the ankle injury in 2023, he was getting strong Hawkinson comparisons. And the people in the league that I talked to were saying, like, if he can regain that back, because he hasn't regained it back, he hasn't regained that speed. So, and it's an ankle, not a knee. So let's just put a pin in that. But that could provide tremendous value for a team that, combine medicals will be huge for him. Let's just say that. But Luke Lachey, great kid to talk to, actually does Legos.
Oh,
Bloom, because I always do the like, hey, what do you do for fun?
yeah.
He's like, I like Legos. And then I think the one Lego set he hasn't put together yet but wants to is the Titanic. It's like
Wow.
9,000 pieces.
Wow.
So, yeah. So Luke Lachey, a kid that I asked him if he's going to change his hair like George Kittle. So you always get the Iowa reference. You want an Iowa tight end. And whereas Kittle was a fifth rounder, I think Lachey goes seventh, undrafted.
Right.
Maybe fifth. Again, medicals would be big for him, but there is Hawkinson to his game. He's a Y, so he's a blocker and a receiver. But there is some real upside here with this kid and tremendous value that you can get late. And fantasy GMs, you'll just want to put a pin in him if you're playing super crazy deep dynasty leagues like you and I do.
Yeah, there's real upside in continuing to take the journey through the non-playing season calendar here on the Audible. Cecil Lammey, Sigmund Bloom. We're going to be coming back at you with a Senior Bowl show, Super Bowl preview coming up. If you're down in New Orleans, holler at me. Then we're going to have free agency, combine, coaching carousels coming up soon. Snookle. See, I did it because I'm in the host seat, Cecil.
Ha!
Scuba, snorkel, submarine. I got those out of order, but all your deep dynasty, because if you're listening right now, you better be playing in a deep dynasty league. That's what these 7th round undrafted free agent guys scouting reports are for. So much going on. Even though it's the Super Bowl, our minds are also on the draft. Our minds are on you, our wonderful audience, as Cecil is now coming up on year 20, going to these all-star games. Drink. We love you, and we love making this journey with you every year. Hope we can continue to do it for a long time. We want to do it with you because you're so very classy.